Hello and welcome back to the Preppy podcast. I am so excited you're here. Today I have a fabulous interview with Kelly Hughes Designs. She is known for her stationery and gift products and a touch of whimsy with her design. In this interview, we talk about how she developed her skill as an artist, how she narrowed down her product line, and so much more. I think you're really going to enjoy it. But before we get into that, I know so many of you followed along with our Camp Preppy Hamptons last week. So I'm thrilled to announce that we have the rest of our 2026 Camp Preppies live on the preppypodcast.com, and they include Beaver Creek in June, Barnsley Resort, which is in Georgia, in August, and Kennebunkport, Maine, which we are doing in October. So you can find details, you can find all about buying tickets, what's required of attendees, and so much more at thepreppypodcast.com. And maybe you're not really ready to take the dive into Camp Preppy, then let me suggest Club Preppy, which is our monthly subscription where virtually we meet and do one preppy activity. So think wine tastings, cocktail making, floral arranging, tablescaping, napkin folding. Those are just some of the fun things that we have on the calendar. Members also get to take part in a group chat on Instagram where they can swap preppy products, share some preppy ideas, and encourage one another, as well as they receive a preppy product in the mail that's exclusive to Club Preppy. In the past, we've done tote bags or notebooks. It's just a great community and a great way to try out before you jump into Camp Preppy, and just something in between for our Camp Preppy enthusiasts. So all of that information is at thepreppypodcast.com, but of course, feel free to DM me if you need any links. But let's get into this week's episode.
All right, so why don't you first let everyone know who you are, where you live, and what you do?
Okay, first, thank you for having me, Patricia. I appreciate it. I'm excited to chat with you. And I am Kelly Hughes. I currently live in Malvern, Pennsylvania, which is on the main line of Philadelphia. And I am the founder of a personalized gifts business, which is sold in shops nationwide and online.
Yes, and I am thrilled to have you here today. And we work together on some social and PR stuff, but I love learning more about my clients and everyone else on the podcast. So I can't wait to hear what I learned today from you. But before we get started, tell me a little bit about you as a kid. I love asking this question because I feel like it makes us all reflect on ourselves a little deeper. But were you someone that at a young age was creative, was maybe, making greeting cards for their friends, or maybe entrepreneurial and like selling something in your driveway to neighbors? Like, what were you like as a kid?
Well, you just answered my question. So I was definitely creative. I actually, when I was in, I think, fourth grade, I decided with my friend who lived on my street and I went to school with, we decided we were starting a card business, funny enough. And we were very resourceful. We used white index cards and folded them in half and illustrated the fronts and blank on the inside. And we sold them to our friends and family and our neighbors. So that was my first venture into the card business. And we did that for a while. I think it was pretty successful. As a fourth grader,
Yeah.
but that was probably my first entrepreneurial adventure. And the name of the business was Many Mini Cards. I actually still have some.
Wait, that's so cute that A, you remember the name, and B, you have some of the cards.
Yeah. Thanks to family who saved them and gifted them back to me. So it's fun. But and then after that, I always was doing something creative. I actually, as I got older in high school, I loved making my own dresses. I was very into sewing and designing, and had some very it was the late 80s to age myself, but it was some very colorful and creative dance dresses. My friends would always be fascinated by what I came up with. And that from there, I kind of went into, I decided I was going to major in clothing and interior design in college.
Okay.
I love designing and just loved color and fabrics. I got my degree in clothing design. The one caveat is I did not leave Missouri, where I grew up. So
Okay.
living in St. Louis my whole life, I went to school in Missouri. Not the best place to go for fashion design, but I made the most of it. So
Yeah.
I graduated and actually got an internship working in London for the summer after graduation for a fashion icon, Zandra Rhodes, who is a
Okay.
British designer. And she's still, I actually just saw her post this week that she just did the Palm Beach Opera costumes. Like she's still so active and
Yeah.
amazing. But I was able to go live in London and work for her for 3 months. I did a lot of I actually worked closely with her PR person and did a lot of
Okay.
marketing and PR for her new product launches, and was able to kind of see what she did and learn about her textile design. It was really a great opportunity and just a very cool experience to have.
Definitely. How'd you land that?
You know, it's back at, this was back before the internet. So I literally, there was in one of our classroom buildings on campus, there was a bulletin board with internship opportunities. And I happened to see this and I was like, well, that is right up my alley. I have to pursue this. And it was actually done through, I think, it was done through a college in New York City. So it was through another college, and it was just a really neat experience. And the coolest part of it was when I came back home, I actually started. I had to come home a few weeks early because I started my job as a buyer right out of college. And about, I guess, I can't remember. I think it was within the year. Zandra came to the U.S. She did a lot in the U.S. and actually she
Okay.
lived part time here. But she came to St. Louis for a fashion event, and I met up with her for lunch, and it was surreal. Like I'm like, here she is in St. Louis, Missouri,
Yes.
this amazing London British designer, and it was just really cool. So
That sounds a great first start though in creativity and fashion. So it sounds like the perfect fit and almost like it was meant to be, like you finding it on the bulletin board and then getting it and enjoying it.
yes, yes. I mean, I've always said to my kids like that, like when you're in college, go and do these things because it's a great time to take the risks and the adventure. So that was a lot of fun, and um, definitely I learned a lot about just running a business, and in the short amount of time that I was there, and a lot about PR and marketing as well.
Yeah.
So it was
And
a
I'm sure
good start.
on your own too, living on your own, being on your own, like so far away from friends and family.
Yes, yes, which was yes. I honestly now I'm not sure I would take that chance now. Like it was when you're young, it's a lot. You're a little more naive to.
Uh-huh. It's that I was just talking about this with someone. It's like that blind ambition where you don't know anything else. So like you're willing to take those risks and not be afraid and try new things back then, right?
For sure, for sure. Yes.
So then tell me about your first job. You mentioned having to leave early to start your job as a buyer. So what did that look like? How did you get that position? And then I'd love to hear a little bit of the journey from being a buyer all the way up to the moment where you decided to be an entrepreneur.
Yes. So I started in an executive training program with May Department Stores, which sadly is no longer. They were bought by Macy's, but they were based in St. Louis, and I started in the buying offices, and I got that job just seeking it out. I was very good at seeking things out when I was young and just looking for new opportunity. So I was able to work my way up. I started in the dress buying office and worked my way through fragrances, footwear. Kind of did a lot of a lot of different areas. but just that opportunity, my friends and I'm still friends with a lot of people that I started my job with there. And we always think back, and it was just such a fun group of people to work with. Hard work consumed a lot of my time, but taught me so much about running a business. I mean, honestly, like there's no better place to learn about retail than starting at May department stores, because they really pushed you to do your best and work hard, and it was a good foundation for learning to run a business.
Mm-hmm. No, that makes a total sense. It sounds like you were able to, within moving around different departments, learn different skills that you're able to use later in life, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And those friendships, I mean, that's so important too. I think when everyone's starting their career together, everyone's, helping each other. I always tell people who reach out to me for internships or just like looking for advice, I'm like, take advantage of being young, because it's hard for someone to say no to you when you're just starting out, because fortunately, a lot of people don't think of you as a threat when you're young, which even though you might have a lot of skills and you could actually be a threat, no one's concerned with that as much. So they're willing to give you the time and help you, and offer a lot of advice and time.
For sure. Absolutely.
So then tell me a little bit about next. Starting your own business, deciding that you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to try something on your own. Like, what did that sort of aha or light bulb moment look like?
So I had actually moved to San Antonio, Texas from St. Louis. I, my husband and I got married. I moved right before our wedding. He was working down there, so we started our life down there. And I was at that time I had changed jobs. I was working on the other side of the business. I was a account executive selling into the store. I was selling to the people that I was buying with.
Yeah.
So kind of took the other side and did that for a little bit in San Antonio. And once we decided, okay, we're going to, start a family. It was a lot of travel and a lot of that. Mostly it was the travel. I'm like, I don't know if I can separate myself from my kids. Like that's a lot of time to be gone. And I kind of wanted to find something that would give me more balance and also allow me to use my creativity.
Yeah.
So I was, just tossing around ideas, and I have always, obviously, had always loved stationery and cards. So I thought, you know what, this is something easy that I could start up pretty with minimal investment and see what happens. So I decided to go for it and started out just doing like shows here and there, like local markets, junior league shows, neighborhood markets, Christmas markets. And for the first year, I had a great success with those. And I thought, this is interesting. Like, I think I can make this work. So I had actually I had my first daughter. And after that, I was quickly pregnant with my second daughter, and I decided it would be a great idea to go to the National Stationery Show because, nothing like a 6-month old and a baby on the way, and I'm going to go to New York. So I signed up for the stationery show, which I think the first year that I went was kind of one of the best years. Like it was before, things started changing and online shopping started happening. So it was a lot of fun. It was actually when they still had um, the outside, all the new vendors were in the outside. They weren't even in the main
Oh,
section of
wow.
the
Okay.
stationery
Yeah.
show. So that's how big it was. So I did that, and I had a great show. I picked up some amazing stores and online retailers, and some of whom literally am still doing business with today, which is amazing.
Yeah.
So that took off, and things just started to grow, and that was 20 something years ago. So
My
it
goodness.
was the start of a long journey.
Yes. Well, so going back a little bit then, I know you said you landed on cards initially because it was a relatively low investment. But how were you staying creative in your other like buying jobs and things like that? So you knew like, oh, I have these skills in terms of art that I can create something. Because I feel like that's a really big part too, in terms of beyond just manufacturing and getting the physical printed cards. It's creating the artwork, right? How did you sort of define your medium and your style for these cards? Like, what did that process look like?
Well, it's funny. I am not trained in art at all, other than like clothing design isn't really necessarily artistic. I mean, it's artistic in a different way, not illustrating,
Yeah.
So that was, I mean, I've always been interested in illustration and art, but I never went to school for it. I was not formally trained. I graphic design, like Photoshop, Illustrator, had no experience. So I really, again, young, and I went in, I'm like, I can do this. And as far as medium, I just always had things that appealed to me, in shopping and seeing things. I'm like, I love that. And so I kind of knew I wanted it to be a hand illustrated collection, and,
Okay.
and researched different ways that I could do that, and just came out with I decided I was going to do watercolor and ink, and that was the route I took, and it worked. And I had to teach myself a lot, and I'm confident that I'm still doing things very backwards as far as like Photoshop and Illustrator. My son, who is 18, is like a pro at that, and he always makes fun of me because he's like, "Why are you doing it that way? There's so much easier way." I'm like, "Okay, well, show me then."
And it's easy, like once you know something and you do it so many times, I'm sure it's hard to change that, even though another way might technically be the more efficient way to do it. To you, it's efficient what you've been doing.
Exactly, exactly.
Well, and going off of that too, I imagine obviously it's hard being an artist and having your style and making something, but then the technology, like we talked about with Photoshop, there's constantly new versions of things like that. Like keeping up, because it's almost two different brains that you're working with then there, like the artistic, like the physical drawings and art, and then there's the technical part of it, which I think are your left and your right brain, so making them work together, I can imagine.
Yes, yes. And one of my strengths is and weaknesses is that have a very good attention to detail. So I think that has helped me, and also maybe hindered me in some places.
Yeah,
But it helps with making sure things get done the way they should be done. So
definitely.
definitely.
So now, as your business has grown. You went to that first stationery show. It did so well, and then even still today, as you continue to grow, 20 years later, how have you found your manufacturers, or found a good groove in that? Has it just been sort of word of mouth, or is it taking up to Google? I always find this fascinating too, and I think a lot of times, those outlets change as you grow.
For sure, they change. I mean, when I started my business 20 something years ago, the way I reached customers was first the National Stationery Show, and second, just outreach. Like
Yeah.
I literally, mailing postcards to stores, emailing stores. It was a lot of, you couldn't go viral on social media because there was no social media.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of just taking the time to reach out to stores or doing markets.
Hmm.
To meet customers at markets. And those were, those I always enjoyed because you would be able to meet with people face to face and hear feedback. And it was always so helpful to be able to, have those conversations and understand what people were looking for and what they wanted more of or less of. And it was nice to have that opportunity. And then as my business grew, I mean, definitely things are different now.
Yeah.
I don't do markets anymore because my business has changed, and um, I still wholesale to a lot of stores, and those stores now find me. I don't do a whole lot of market or outreach for
Yeah.
wholesale. And a lot of my customers have been with me for a very long time. But now I think, especially during COVID, things shifted more to online retail, and that's kind of been my focus for the past several years, probably
Yeah.
5 years. Um, and while still having great relationships with my stores and maintaining that business, I've kind of shifted focus to grow my online retail business.
Yeah. That direct to consumer.
Yes, direct to consumer, and it's just a different, it's very different. Trying to social media, advertising on social media. It's word of mouth and getting your name out there in other ways than what I started with. So
Yes, no, 1,000%. But I almost think it makes sense and lends itself to your product because so much of your product is custom. So being able to work with that customer directly instead of going through, that retailer, that store owner to that customer, it makes more sense just to communicate directly with them.
yes, for sure. And I do find it's interesting. I love hearing from my customers. It's a lot of fun. Just to get feedback, but a lot of my customers also may not feel comfortable shopping online, so they like going to a store and seeing the product and working with someone in person. So that's where my stores are still very important. And even if I'm you know uh, advertising on social media, that doesn't mean they're coming right to me. They could be going to one of my stores and purchasing there after seeing my ad. So it's keeping all of those avenues open, I think, is important.
Yeah. Now, I'm curious, what's been a big pinch me moment in terms of business or something you're really proud of, or maybe like a favorite product or design or project you've done for someone?
Yes, well, my favorite moments are getting orders, of course, from big names. And I'm not going to name any because it's not done. It wasn't anything that was like published but
Yes.
I will see names come over and I'm like, that's interesting. And I'm like, oh yeah, that is who I think it is. And it's just, that's my favorite. Back in when I first started, I would get orders and I'm like, no way, like this is but now it's more of a regular, it's fun to see those names come over. And I just feel honored that somebody any customer really is choosing to give my products to as a gift or
Mhm.
using them for their kids. That's a lot of fun. One of my favorite uh, moments was, which didn't actually end up panning out, but it was a really cool moment, was back when I had first started. I actually got a call from someone who was researching to have small female owned business owners coming on the Martha Stewart show. And so I got to interview for that. And I was like, oh my gosh, like she's like the queen of business development and branding. Like that would be amazing.
And events and parties too. Like it makes total sense.
Right. So, anyways, it was like there's just been some really neat things that I've had happen throughout the process of building my business. But for sure, it's getting orders from people that I know their names already. That's a lot of fun.
It's so funny. I've had a couple people say that too, and I just find it so like exciting and entertaining how famous people or celebrities can randomly find a small business like just online and they just order like a regular person, right? It's like mind blowing.
It's not shipping to some like mysterious, their personal assistant. Maybe it is. Maybe some of them do have the personal assistant ordering, but
Yeah.
yeah, they're like, oh yeah, this is just my house address. Here, go ahead and ship it to me.
It's so funny. Oh my goodness. What would you say is the hardest part about having your business? And then, what's the best part? And it sounds like the customers are the best part, but you tell me if it's something different.
The customers are the best part. I love when somebody calls me and says, well, first of all, I do answer my phone. Like you may not get me all the time, but when I take calls, my favorite is, when people are like, I'm ordering for my seventh grandchild and I need to know like what did I buy this person before, or trying to make sure they don't duplicate. And it's just fun to hear like they're ordering for all of their grandchildren, and like just being a part of those special moments in life. It's so rewarding.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely the customers are the best part, because they're why I exist.
Yeah.
So
1,000%. And then flip side to that, the worst or like your least favorite part, like what do you enjoy the least in terms of business, would you say?
um that's tough. I mean, honestly, I am not like, this is not my favorite part of the business. Like putting
You're
myself
doing a
out
great
there.
job.
But like social media, and I would rather like not be the center of everything. So
Yeah.
I don't know why I named the business after myself, but I did. So now I'm stuck with it. But that's probably my least favorite part. I do fine with it, but I don't. I'm like, okay, I'll do
Yeah.
it.
It's funny, the people that I have on the podcast, it's very split between they think that's like the best part and they think it's so important, they love putting themselves out there, or there's people who are like, that's the hardest part, is putting myself out there, like being the face of it. Like I'm fine to promote someone else's business, but like my own business, it's so awkward and it's so much harder. And I totally get it. I hear it.
Yes, for sure. I'm
Definitely.
happy to promote anyone else.
I'm curious, what is the best seller on your website, customer favorite, and then what's your personal favorite, or like what would you recommend for someone listening who might not be familiar with your brand and logging on for the first time? What should they look into?
Well, so I started my business as a stationery designer, and I had a stationery collection, and that was my business for quite a while. Well, actually, I guess it was about 2 or 3 years in. I I had young kids, and I needed a solution for the table when they were doing their art projects, or doing, or eating their meals and making messes. And so I thought, you know what, I could design a placemat for kids. So that's kind of how my, branching off into other products began. And so I started with placemats, and then I added on, those were a success. So I added on matching plates and bowls. And that collection has just expanded over the course of 15 years. And that is definitely my favorite part of my line. I
Yeah.
love my kids' dinnerware. I actually have a couple here just to
Yeah,
show.
show it off.
So the
So
plates with the matching bowls,
Mhm.
and you can get a placemat and a mug and a fork and spoon set. So I've just slowly expanded to have a full dinnerware set. That's my favorite. I'm now also trying to build up more children's gift products around that, because I found that people love my dinnerware, and come for that. And then they buy it as a baby gift, and they need a gift for the older siblings. So my beach towels and blankets are great sibling gifts.
Yeah.
And I'm looking into expanding more on those as well. So what started as stationery has now just grown into multiple products, and actually, the children's gifts are just my favorite. I find that's my favorite thing to illustrate, more children's designs than adult. I enjoy the children's product. Um, and they're more, I feel like I find I can be more colorful and whimsical
Yeah.
with those. And that's what I love. So that is definitely the strength and highlight of my collection.
Yeah, and I love you have some dog illustrations too, which I think are so adorable for people, even if they don't have kids, or even if people have kids, I feel like people think of their pets as part of their family and their kids too. So those I think are also adorable. And in terms of, I know you have different motifs and collections. You have a little farm collection, and I think that is so adorable for little kids. It's like a beautiful like green and white color, and then it has all these adorable farm animals. So that, in terms of collections or like designs, what would you say is your favorite right now?
That is definitely one of my favorites. I actually just came out with a new design, which I think is going to be a top seller. It's I had requests, and I love that's the other thing. I love getting requests because,
Yes.
or I can see what people search on my website, and it's fun to see like, oh, I didn't think of that. That's a good idea. So, anyways, I have a new outer space collection for girls because I had an outer space dinnerware collection. And actually, when I say dinnerware collection, it also expands to stationery and beach towels and all the matching coordinating products that go with
Yeah.
it. But it was blue, red, and white, red, white, and blue. And, you know, girls maybe want something not so bold and less. So I have a new design that is outer space. It's called Out of This World, and it's like a blue and purple and pink colored set that is I think adorable. But I think that will be a strong seller. And but definitely my rainbow and unicorn is always a top seller.
Yeah. I can imagine every little girl wants a pet unicorn. So
For sure. They're never out of style.
yes. Since this is the Preppy podcast, I always ask everyone, what does Preppy mean to you? So how would you describe Preppy?
Um, I would describe it probably as classic and colorful, I
Hmm.
think.
Yep.
Um, it's kind of a feel more
Yes.
than a lifestyle. Like it's just color is definitely important in my collection, um, and I just love the classic looks of preppy. I feel that my line, the fact that I'm still selling designs that I created in 2006,
Yep.
2007, and they're still my top sellers. I think that makes it pretty classic. So,
1,000%. It's definitely classic and preppy. What's a resource you can share with listeners? Is there, a great book you read, maybe a newsletter you subscribe to, or it could just be a piece of advice that you've heard from someone. Like, what's a resource you could share with people listening?
I actually just recently started following, and I love reading her articles. It's called I think it's the Mannerly Edit.
Okay.
It's on Instagram, and she does modern manners.
Oh.
Um, and she also has you can subscribe, so she does a weekly or maybe multi days a week email with just little articles on modern manners. And I think it's so fun to read and just refresh on.
Mhm.
I'm sure my kids love my age kids love me sending them, hey, read this. Like, this is a good tip.
Definitely. Well, I think manners are something that's classic and preppy and like never out of style, having good manners. And I'm sure it sort of goes hand in hand with having kids tabletop. There's so much, kids need to learn about manners at the tables. And so that's a good one. I'll have to check that account out.
Yeah.
Any other sneak peeks or things you're working on? We mentioned the outer space collection for girls coming out. Anything else you want to like plug or mention?
Well, I'm working on expanding my social media with your help, of course. And I'm actually considering, I haven't committed fully yet, but I'm considering getting on TikTok, which would be a whole new education for me.
Yes, definitely.
With the help of my daughter for sure, because she's much more versed in TikTok than I am. So just to reach a new customer base and just a new avenue to
Yes,
reach out to. So that's
definitely.
my next endeavor.
That sounds great. Well, Kelly, this has been so fun learning more about you and your business today and sharing it with my listeners. Can you let everyone know where they can find you in terms of social media handles, website to shop, and even if there's like any stores that have been with you for a while you want to plug or anything like that, feel free to let them know.
Okay. Yes, you Kelly Hughes Designs on Facebook and Instagram, and kellyhughes.com is my website. Oh, as far as stores, I know if I name some, I'm gonna miss.
That's okay. You can just say to email you.
I was just in Naples and visited one of my stores, Arabesque, which I loved walking in, and they had my
Oh,
dinnerware front and center in the store, and it was so fun to meet the owners and do a face to face. Like I said, I missed that
yeah,
from going to market, so I try to stop into my stores when I'm nearby. So,
that's
anyway,
perfect. And if people email you, I'm sure that you can tell them if there's a local store that they could stop by, right?
yes, my website has all of my stores. So,
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much, Kelly.
thank you for having me. It's been fun.
Thank you so much for listening to the Preppy Podcast. I hope this put a little prep in your step for the day. Please subscribe, rate, and review on wherever you listen to your podcast, and follow along with @the Preppy Podcast on social media.